The airport attack in Moscow underscores one of the points our next guest makes, that terrorism will become something that we will learn to live with. In his book, The Next Decade, George Friedman looks at just what we'll be facing over the next 10 years' time. You know him well as the CEO of Stratfor, and he's with us in business this morning. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
You know, yesterday's attack, unfortunately, when we spoke to some of your analysts, it sounded like many of the things that Russia has experienced in regard to Chechen rebels internally here. Is that their new normal?
Well, it's been their normal for about 15 years, so we've been there for a long time. What's clear is the Russians, who are pretty brutal and direct, can't suppress this. This is going to be the background noise not only in Russia but in the entire world.
But they haven't up to this point. I mean, this has been the story, right? That they've had this internal discontent.
They have a large Muslim population. A fraction of that population is prepared to carry out suicide attacks. You can't stop them. In this particular case, they did it from the outside of the airport. We have to deal with it. We're not going to be able to suppress it completely. We have to put this in a framework of the rest of our lives.
And in The Next Decade, your new book here, it's sort of a follow-up to your forecast for the next 100 years in a previous publication. And in that one, you forecast what was really the disintegration in many ways of Russia. And it seems like you pull that back a little bit, at least over the next 10 years' time, to say that they are reemerging. Well,
they're certainly reemerging over the next 10 years, and I said that in the other book. And, you know, Russia is historically a powerful nation. It has power way out of proportion to its economy. Everybody says its economy is in shambles, so its economy is always in shambles. It's recreated its sphere of influence in the former Soviet Union, and now it's forging a very close relationship with Germany. As Germany gets uneasy with the European Union, it's dependent on Russian natural gas. Russia's dependent on German technology, and these two countries are getting closer and closer together.
And based around those connections, you also almost make an argument that Poland is going to become more and more of an influential country.
It already is. I mean, it's stuck between its two nightmares, Germany and Russia.
But geography has always been their Achilles heel, right, in Poland. You think it's going to become a strength for them? Well,
it's going to become a strength for them because I think they're going to have a special relation with the United States. South Korea in 1950 was a nation of rice farmers. 2000, we wind up driving their cars, watching their television sets. The special relationship with the United States built South Korea. Poland, which is starting from a much higher level, is going to be in that same relationship with the United States.
Let's talk about the United States itself as a world power. You say after 9/11, we became disoriented. We're in this new decade. What happens now?
Well, we are an empire, whether we like the name or not. We're 25% of the world economy. We control all the world's oceans. We talk about globalization, increased international trade. That takes place on the oceans. We run that. The United States went off balance by committing everything to the Middle East, to the area between the Hindu Kush and the Mediterranean.
Part of the war on terror, that was the response to 9/11.
Precisely. At this point, whole areas of the world, Europe, China, are uncovered. We have to withdraw in a balanced way from this region and redeploy our forces around the world. So we went off balance. We're still off balance, and we have to regain our balance. And we have a really serious problem, and that problem is Iran. And that's not nuclear weapons. The problem is that Iran is the most powerful conventional military force in the region, with or without nuclear weapons. We're about to withdraw from Iraq. They're about to fill that vacuum. The president has some very serious decisions to make.
Is he going to talk about it tonight?
I think he will. Too early? He will mention it and try to avoid it because I don't think he knows what to do.
We're trying to gauge some political risk here, and you're going out and saying China, the rising Asian economic power, actually is facing 10 years ahead where they're going to start to see that weaken.
They've had 30 years of an extraordinary run. The idea that they're going to have another 30 years is pretty dubious. They have some serious problems. First, they're an incredibly poor country. 600 million Chinese live in households earning less than $3 a day. Second, their exports have margins, they say, about 1.7%, which is incredibly low. And third, they're no longer a low-wage economy. Mexico and a lot of other countries are better places to invest. Inflation is driving up the price, and a lot of their lending is to cover non-performing loans. it's a country that has reached the end of a cycle and is now going to have to readjust. In fact, it's very similar to what happened to Japan in 1990, including the Western hype about Japan and China overtaking the United States and being the next superpower.
And yet, when you talk to the business community, all the growth they see on the horizon, they look towards that gravity shift more and more eastward, and point to how indebted we as a nation are to China as a buyer of that.
Yeah, but China's a hostage to the United States because if the Republic of Walmart, the real power of the world, stops buying. The biggest threat to Chinese economy is American savings rates. If American savings rates maintain the levels they're at, it's going to cut directly into Chinese exports. And if China can't export, it has unemployment. And if they have unemployment, they have social unrest. And that's why the Chinese are cracking down on everybody.
I want to get to what stands out as one of your most controversial predictions here. Israel's the largest recipient of foreign aid from the United States. You say in the next 10 years, our relationship is fundamentally going to change.
Sure. I mean, the United States and Israel were not close until 1967. The United States hardly gave them any aid. After 1967, really after 1973, we started to give them aid. It was 25% of their GDP. Today, it's less than 2% of their GDP. Israel is not a country in danger of annihilation. Israel is not a country that is unable to take care of itself. And Israel has made it very clear it intends to follow its own policy, regardless of what Washington says. So Israel has defined a change in the relationship. All I'm saying is that we should all acknowledge that the relationship we had in 1973 is not the same as today. I'm not saying break with Israel. I'm saying let's redefine the relationship in terms of what each country is today.
What does that redefinition mean? Where they are dictating more of the terms of the relationship than they do now?
They are dictating the terms. The United States doesn't want them to be building settlements at the West Bank. They're going to do it anyway. The United States is interested in certain negotiations that they're not carrying out. Israel is a sovereign country. It is carrying out its foreign policy to its interest. That's what it should be. The United States is a sovereign country. It has sometimes different interests. Where we need to cooperate, we cooperate. In other areas, we go our own way.
All right. The next decade, according to George Friedman. Thank you very much for previewing your forecast.